when Pluto was in Capricorn, there was a different kind of work, because Pluto in Capricorn worked on structures and restructuring, taking down old structures and building new ones. Pluto in Aquarius it's not so much about structure. There's a little bit of structure because we're still dealing with Saturn here as a ruler. The connection to your authenticity, that's what you're looking for here. You know, the deeper work that you will do is like the authenticity work. Pluto has nothing to do with the conscious will, the ego kind of will. Pluto is like, it works on the deeper level. It's the roots that Pluto is unearthing. And that can often be a very, very, very painful experience. It's sometimes when the student is ready, the teacher appears, but other times when the teacher appears, the students gotta get ready. My lovelies, welcome back. Today, we're talking about what Pluto in Aquarius means for your sign. You already got a little taste of it when Pluto was in Aquarius earlier this year. So you might already have an idea of what this is all about for you, or you know, an inkling. But well, let's look at it again. So I'm going to speak to the rising sign, but you can also, and I would advise you to also look at the sun sign. So when I say Aries rising, if you're an Aries rising, you're like, okay, this is for me. But if you're an Aries, I would also listen. Okay? So you listen for your rising sign and for your sun sign, and that will give you a better understanding here. So in order to get the themes, watch the other video. I will link it below and also somewhere here. And when you watch that, then I would like you to listen to this. So now let's get into the signs. Let's start with Aries rising. So Aries rising for you, this is going to occur in the 11th house. The 11th house of, in this case, social transformation. And what I mean by this, by social transformation for you, that could be that you are completely overhauling the community that you live in, that you work in. And by work, I don't mean actually going to work, but work as in that you function in. You might completely change your friendship circle to a new friendship circle, because also your ideas of where you're going, your hopes and dreams for the future may become more clear to you, and you realize, well, the community I'm in is not going where I want to go. So slowly Pluto will chip away on it, and it may come with some, I want to say growing pains, but it's almost like releasing pains, right? But also growing pains, because you're growing into a new version of you. So that version might have to affiliate with other people, different people. Then, like I already said, long-term goals is the theme here. And maybe this theme or this long-term goal or these long-term goals are becoming clearer to you, or they shift and change completely, because you know, life shapes us. And maybe you're taking off a lot of layers of conditioning and you realize, wait a minute, down there, I want something completely different. So yeah, you might want to affiliate with people that align with your values and goals for the future, your ideals, right? We are talking about ideals in the 11th house, better. Then Taurus rising, for you, this is going to occur in your 10th house, career, public image, your purpose work. And also, well, your aspirations, obviously. By the way, there is a blog post. That's why I'm looking down. There is a blog post, I have it here, that I wrote about this. So you can, after you listen to this, you can click on the link that I add to the description section, and you can read about this. So the Pluto influence will encourage you to reassess your career path, your kind of like, I would even say your life path, where you're heading, the goal, the mountain. You know, you might have thought you want to go sit on top of that mountain, but in the next 20 years, you might realize actually the mountain you want to climb is a completely different mountain. Doesn't have to be as radical. Maybe you just realize that how you get to that mountain is going to be different. So you might experience profound changes in your career. Maybe you change careers completely. Maybe you give up work completely. Maybe you go back to work and you never thought, you've been a stay-at-home mom and you never thought that work as in, the classic work that we do in this society is for you. Or maybe you go from working corporate to working as an entrepreneur, right? It is going to be something that is a big shift. Maybe you always wanted it, but you weren't ready for it, and now is the time. Maybe you're not even ready, but the time has come anyways, right? Sometimes when the student is ready, the teacher appears, but other times when the teacher appears, the students got to get ready. And Pluto, the teacher, is appearing in your 10th house right now. So you better be ready. Then Gemini rising, for you, this is a 9th house transit. So we are talking about your beliefs, higher learning, travel, exploration, more than just holidays. We're not talking about holidays here. We're talking about exploration, adventure, going out there into the world, experiencing life, taking life in, other cultures, other ideas of living, maybe also other religions, could all be a topic for you. And this part of your life is going to change completely. Maybe you're changing religion. Maybe you have not believed in religion. And I'm not talking about spirituality. I'm talking about organized religion. Maybe you didn't believe in it. And now you're, having a come to Jesus moment, or, it could be another religion as well. But that could be a manifestation here. Not saying everyone is going through this, but I think what everyone as a Gemini rising is going to go through is a huge shift in the belief system. What is a belief system, as in, yes, what is possible for you in this life, what you can see, achieve, reach, whatever, but also the beliefs you're holding, right? The beliefs that you've been ingrained with through your upbringing. They will undergo a huge shift as well. And I'm not saying every single one of it, but there will be profound changes that will or might change the direction of your life. Maybe you're going to move. Maybe you're going to move to a different country, overseas. Maybe you want to go back to school, higher learning. Maybe you want to teach. That could also be a manifestation here. Maybe all the knowledge, life knowledge that you accumulated, maybe it's time to bring that to the people. So those are the big shifts and changes. I think I actually like Pluto in the 9th house. I mean, you guys are so lucky. Oh my God. I mean, I would be so happy to have Pluto in my 9th house now. Pluto in the 9th house, even Pluto in the 3rd house. I love those Plutos. Those transformations. Not that they are super easy. It's still Pluto. It's still Pluto energy. You will still have to go through the ringer. You will definitely up-level and upgrade your life. Then Cancer rising, for you, Pluto is moving into the 8th house. The 8th house of, the house of transformation. It's Pluto's domain. Pluto is coming home to, so to speak. It is also the house, I call it the house of the shadow work, because that is part of the transformation, right? We gotta look at the shadow, we gotta do the inner child work, all part of the 8th house, but also part of the 8th house is intimacy. And I mean intimacy on every level. We're not just talking about the bedroom intimacy here. We are talking about intimacy on the level of being vulnerable with your partner specifically here, right? Because the 8th house is also the house of the other's stuff, the other's resources. So the other plays a big role here, the other as in your life partner, other. Yes, the 8th house also deals with inheritance and tax stuff that also shows up in this area. So that might be a topic here, and probably a topic that, we often rather not deal with. And then, yeah, shared resources. You know, that is a vast topic. It could be shared resources in your marriage, right, with your partner, but shared resources with family members, shared resources with the people in your life. But I think most likely it will probably relate to the partner, the resources. It's a money house, right? We are on the money axis here. Second house, eighth house. And what I often see with the eighth house, especially with Pluto here, is a big shift in values. And yes, we also have a big shift in values when Pluto's in the second house, but there is an upgrade here in the eighth house because we learned a lot. We came a long way from the second house, right? The second house is where we form our values, right? And then in the eighth house, we look at them again and we are like, do they serve me? Do I have to change something here? You most likely have to change something here. And it is actually not a question of the will, because Pluto has nothing to do with the conscious will, the ego kind of will. Pluto is like, it works on the deeper level. It's the roots that Pluto is unearthing. And that can often be a very, very, very painful experience. So yeah, Pluto in the eighth is not an easy feller. It's still not, I don't think it's the most difficult Pluto to deal with. Because in the eighth house, naturally, we do that, all that work. So also Pluto is at home. So we kind of get into that groove. In the eighth house with Pluto there, we get into the Pluto groove a little bit. Again, it's not a walk in the park. You know, you will have to do the deep dive. There's no two ways about it. You will have to do the deep dive. The Gemini rising had Pluto here when Pluto was in Capricorn, but there was a different kind of work because Pluto in Capricorn worked on structures and restructuring, taking down old structures and building new ones. And Pluto in Aquarius it's not so much about structure. There's a little bit of structure because we're still dealing with Saturn here as the ruler, but we're also dealing with Aquarius. So it is more like the connection to your authenticity. That's what you're looking for here. You know, the deeper work that you will do is like the authenticity work. You know, what is your authentic self? And it might not be what you're showing up as right now. Okay. Next one is Leo and Leo rising. Well, my lovely Leos, we have arrived in the house of relationships. This is going to be 20 years of reforming your understanding of relationships. And again, this is not a voluntary thing. You will go through it if you want it or not. And you will go through it probably in a way that you could have not imagined, really. This has a lot to do with authenticity. Pluto in Aquarius is about authenticity. Your authentic self. Showing up as your authentic self in the relationship. And you might say right now, I'm myself in my relationship. Well, we are not talking about the myself that has been conditioned through, you know, your childhood, your upbringing. Not that. We're talking about the authentic self that is underneath that. We are talking soul level here. We are in Aquarius now. We're not in Pisces yet, but we are in Aquarius. So we've left the ego realm, right? We left the first 10 signs, the first 10 houses are very much at home on this planet. Now, when we get to Aquarius, when we get to Pisces, we are connecting with that other side. And this is your task in the next 20 years. Connecting with that higher self version of yourself. And only then, and I'm saying it here, don't shoot the messenger, but only then will you be successful in relationships. And by successful, I don't talk about money, I don't talk about things. I talk about the true deep connection in your relationship, meeting the other on that level. But before you can meet the other on that level, you have to meet yourself on that level. And there's probably going to be a lot of back and forth in the next 20 years. So I'm not saying that if you're married right now that you will get a divorce or anything. I'm not saying this. I mean, there might be some of you that may be the case, but it's not about divorcing the person you're with or leaving the person you're with, but it is doing the deeper work internally and together, right? You and the other. So yeah, there will be probably releases, right? Releasing people that are no longer aligned with your truth as in your authenticity, your growth. So this is a powerful time to attract deeper, more authentic partnerships. Or making the partnership you're in more authentic, more robust too. Because again, there is Uranus in here, but there's also Saturn in here. And Saturn wants to make you strong, but usually Saturn sends you through the ringer to get there. And I don't look at it as like, oh, no, why? This is so mean, I'm the victim. No, you're not. This is actually a blessing that you get to go through. And I know sometimes it doesn't look like that. Not just in relationships, general in life. You know, we go through illnesses, we go through all kinds of stuff. And rarely do we look at it as like, oh, this is a blessing. Next one, Virgo rising. My lovely fellow Virgo risings. What a fun time to be alive. Pluto in the 6th house. Well, we kind of got, I don't want to say we got it easy in the past 14 years. We certainly didn't, right? Pluto in the 5th did quite deep work, restructuring our ideas of, well, love for one, but also our idea of our creative self-expression and how we express it. There was probably a lot of trial and error. You thought you're there and then you realized, oh, I'm not. You thought you're there, not. But there was a lot of restructuring in that area. Now with Pluto in the 6th house, we take it up a notch. Pluto in the 6th house is saying, okay, well, now you worked on your creative self-expression. How are you going to utilize it in your day-to-day now? How are you going to work with it, quite literally? Are you going to put it to work in the actual sense? Or how are you going to implement it in your life? How are you going to express yourself as yourself on a day-to-day? Remember, Pluto in Aquarius, all about authenticity. What does that mean for you? Being authentic, your authentic self. What does it mean for you in your life? And then, yes, the 6th house, the house of health. Disclaimer, I don't want people to worry now that they get sick with Pluto in the 6th house, deal with health issues. There might be some health stuff coming up for you. But it is here to show you what you need to change. And sometimes it's not as apparent, right? We get sick, we have an illness, we get diagnosed, and we're like, why this? Where is that coming from? Why that? But if you allow yourself to lean back, let it sink in, you will get there. You will understand where this is coming from. But often we don't allow ourselves to go there. What we do is like, oh, we go to the doctor is going to prescribe us something, or we're going to, take medicine for the rest of our lives, and okay. Or we have to get surgery or whatever. We put everything in someone else's hand. The 6th house is also called the house of service. And in the 6th house, we are not just of service to others. You've got to also be of service to yourself. And whatever it takes when it comes to health. Maybe you've got to change your life completely in order to live healthier. This can manifest in so many different ways. Maybe you move to the countryside. Maybe you got to change your job. Like your routines might change completely. But again, I want to look at this as a very empowering transit. This is empowering because Pluto is empowering you to take your life in your own hands in the area of, living healthy, serving yourself. And from that place, you then serve others. You don't give from an empty cup. You give from a full cup. Preferably an overflowing cup. You gotta fill your cup first. And not just, a quarter, 2 quarters. No, full cup, then you give to others. I understand when you have children, that might not always be fully possible, but I'm not talking about children here. I'm talking about others, as in other adults in your life. Then Libra rising, for you, we are talking about themes of creative self-expression, possibly children, but also creativity. Really diving and dipping and tapping into that creative energy that you hold within. And when I always say within, it's not like it sits in your stomach or something, right? It is an energy. By within, I mean it's within as in the energy you don't see. It's an energy that is within you, but it is also around you in your aura, right? Your aura holds it as well. But you have to tap into it, and Pluto will help you. I just went through a 5th house transit, and it wasn't a walk in the park with Pluto there, right? Like especially when it comes to expressing yourself, showing up as you on the stage of life. Remember, 5th house is the house of Leo. Showing up. I know the 10th house is also the stage of life, but in the 5th house, you got to show up as you. You shine your light. You are now asked to bring forth that light and show it. And for me, that was a very lengthy process. It took me, with Pluto in my 5th house, it took me probably almost until the end of the transit, until I was able to fully tap into that. Doesn't mean that it will take as long for you. I'm not saying that, but it took me quite a long time. And Pluto was in my 5th house for 14 years. Now Pluto is going to be in your 5th house for 20 years. So make use of that time. Really utilize it. I think it's actually a very beautiful transit. Of all the Pluto transits, the 5th house, the 9th house, and the 3rd house are probably my favorites, if I may say so. Then we are talking about Scorpio rising. For you, this is a 4th house transit. We're talking home, family, foundation, and also emotional foundation, but also foundation. Your foundation. Your stability in life, your safety. What do you need to feel safe? And you will probably understand that on a completely different level now. There are going to be big shifts and changes in your 4th house in the coming 20 years. And I know a Scorpio rising that already is tapping into this. Now it's Pluto was already in Aquarius. We gotta remember, right? Pluto's been in Aquarius, had a stint there. Then it went back into Capricorn because Pluto knew we have to clean up the area a little bit. And now Pluto's coming back into your 4th house. And you will recreate your home, and you will recreate what home means to you, and who you want there, and who you don't want there, and where you want your home to be, and who you want your home to be. It is also a time that is very important when it comes to healing family wounds, generational, ancestral family wounds that you've been carrying with you, probably unknowingly, and then you live them out in your family, in your new family, in your newly founded family. Maybe now you're coming to realize that I brought something with me that isn't serving me or my family, and we've got to change it. So it is really healing that wound, and this wound could be related to shame, to fear, to worries about safety. It could be a guilt thing, anything that you brought through the family line, the ancestry line. It was given to you through the mother milk, basically. And we also talk about the fourth house, which is Cancer, which is the mother. We also find, of course, the father in here. I always consider the father part of the fourth house as well, because we are talking about family. And family is not just the mother. Family is also the father side. This, you know, because you wouldn't have been made otherwise. You know, yes, your mother, you know, she nourished and nurtured you for 9 months in her womb, but you know, your father played a part. Maybe he didn't play a part after that, but he gave his parts to it. And so there might be some healing on this end as well. Now, Sagittarius rising, this is third house transit. I don't think this is the worst transit in the world, but this usually relates to communication, learning, self-expression in a way where you learn to express yourself, right? You learn to express yourself. You learn to express yourself in your social circle, your environment, the environment you're in. And maybe now with Pluto here, you have to do the overhauling this. All the things you've learned and thought they worked well for you, maybe they're not all working so well for you. You know, maybe there's a shift and change in thinking. Also, when it comes to expressing your ideas, like exchanging ideas, communicating, that style of communication will probably undergo a big shift as well. And that can also relate to the communication with your siblings and your immediate family, your aunts, your uncles could play a big topic too. And maybe you're bonding stronger with them, or you're releasing the connection. That could also be something, because maybe you've been holding on to it because you thought you had to, but it wasn't serving you. Also, I think I can see some inner child work here, there's some focus on inner child work, like some bigger focus on inner child work, in terms of what you were told is right or wrong by the system you were brought up in, right? You were rethinking it. You know, you might have to do some work also when it comes to early life education and the things you've learned there, and the things that then obviously shaped you through that learning as well. Then Capricorn, we're talking second house transit. Well, self-worth, values, your values, like, and not just any old values, but the core values, right? The core values that you build your life up on. And often we don't run around and talk about our core values all the time. We're not even thinking about them because they are such an ingrained part of us, because we develop them very, very early on in life. We take them in from the environment, the people we are living with, the people that care for us. And now with Pluto there, Pluto might tell you that it is time to review those. And Pluto might tell you that in not so gentle ways. This is also, of course, relating to finances. And there might be a very big shift in your finances, the way you bring your finances in, the way you look at finances, the way you look at money, the way you perceive money, the way you understand money. Your relationship with money is going to undergo a huge shift. Like the way you act with money, the way you spend it, the what it means, the value of money. Money is an arbitrary line. You give the money the value that it then has. I understand that the government, the financial system tells us what is worth what, but that is on one side. But on the other side, it is you and the understanding of worth and value that you hold within you about yourself, your value, the value you place on yourself. That will then show up in all ways, not just in the money you make and the way you spend your money and the way you look at money, but also how you attract people into your life. Because it's an energy. Money is an energy. Yes, it's this little paper, or now it's like, it's not really paper anymore. It is a card. But it's not just that. Before it is that, it is energy. And I understand that it can be a very kind of elusive idea of like, well, yeah, it's energy, money is energy, but it is. But you know, you gotta get to the point, and you will. I promise you, in the next 20 years, you will understand this. That the energy I'm speaking of, the energy of worth and value, is something that you have to embody. Second house is a house of embodiment. If there's any house in any area, the second house, the house of Taurus, is embodiment, physicality. And you have to, whatever you embody is what you then live. You might think something else. You might think differently. You might think this and that. But as long as it's just thinking, if it's not embodied, if it hasn't sunken into your DNA, like if it's not absorbed on that level, on that physical level, you might say, oh yeah, you know, money comes to me easily. Money comes to me easily. But it's not showing up. Where is it? Where is it? I can't see it. Well, it is obviously they're not embodied. It has to be embodied in order to be true. But this embodiment process is not a process that you can just think yourself into consciously. There is more to do. It has to become you. It has to sink into the unconscious, right? If it's just in the conscious, it is, you know, you might be able to attract money, to make a lot of money, but if it's not embodied, if the embodiment is still saying, no, you know, money is a finite resource, you will try to hold on so hard. It needs to be an embodiment. And yes, it starts in the mental, right? It's a, you know, first you have to allow yourself to think it, you know, to think it. But you can't stop there. It's got to sink in. And the sinking in is generally not, I know a lot of money teachers want to tell you that it is a process that you can track. It doesn't work that way with the unconscious. The unconscious is this vast universe. That darkness, to absorb this conscious idea of what you want and where you want to go and what you'd like in life, you gotta allow it just to be. But then you also have to take inspired action, right? You think something, you know something, you mentally understand, you mentally process it, and then you have to still physically process it, right? In the second house, we gotta physically process. Nothing it will happen here if it's not physically processed in some shape or form. And again, for me, everything related to money starts with your self-worth. And I know this is easier said than done. And it sounds like, yeah, whatever. What are you talking about? But it starts there. The value that you hold. And that is very often very hard work, because most of us have not been brought up to understand our value. That value is inherent. We might think, yeah, we are valuable. But actually, deeply feeling it in the body, you don't have to do anything for it, right? It's an isness. It's not a doingness. The doingness comes after you understood the isness. The being has to be first. You know, we have learned to do, and then we will have. The beingness comes then. You know, we will get when we do the thing. Do. Whatever it is we do. The understanding has to be there first. The beingness has to be there first. The isness has to be there first. And from that place, then you act. Because again, this is also all about authenticity. Remember, we are in Aquarius now. You gotta be authentic. This is all about being authentic. The whole journey of Pluto in Aquarius is become the individual needs to get back to the authenticity, the deep-rooted authenticity, and then we can all give from that place to the collective. Now, Aquarius, for you, this is first house transit. I think this is just a big life shift for you. And when I say just, I don't want to just push it aside. This is going to be big. This is the first house. Of course, this is going to be huge for you. This is probably also not going to feel good in the body. This is a very physical experience for you too, I think, that you will go through, like literally physical. You will feel this transit in your body in some shape or form. There might be physical changes that you also undergo, as in looks, really shifting that identity on all levels. And then, you know, probably also like shifting the direction you're taking. And again, it has to come from that authentic level. You getting to that authenticity, that true you, not that conditioned you, not that you know, someone told you should be, or you think you should be because you saw someone else be it and you liked it. No, but the you, okay? That's where we're going, the you. Then quickly, Pisces rising. For you, this is going to be a time where you find yourself back to that spiritual self, right? That core essence, that core essence that you are made of, not as in, you know, the egg and the sperm and that, but that divine part, that connection to the divine is going to undergo a big transformation. And I find this always, the 12th house transit with Pluto is such an interesting one, because it first of all makes you feel a very strong pull towards spirituality and introspection, but also healing, right? This is also healing time, where we heal on a cellular level. This is not just healing as in, yes, I heal the wound, you know, that I can see or that I know, but this is like behind that, right? Every illness, I'm going to lean myself out of the window now. Oh. Every illness, I'm saying it here, has a spiritual connection. There is a spiritual connection to any and every illness that we experience. And sometimes it is more profound than others, but there's always a spiritual connection. And this will be your journey in the next 20 years, finding that connection for you. You know, this can relate to a big illness that is in your life, you know, something very heavy, but this can also relate to smaller stuff. This can also relate to emotional healing, and that spiritual connection to that emotion, the spiritual connection to the mental understanding of who you are. So more than before, Pluto will encourage you to take that journey into the subconscious and to go deeper and to heal whatever needs to be healed. It could be past wounds that you're still carrying, but you know that it's now time. We're in the 12th house here. That's the last hooray, right? We gotta now get to it. We gotta now get to it then, because in the first house, where we're going next. We're going next, after the next 20 years, we are going into Pisces, Pluto and Pisces, and that is going to be your first house. So you now clean it all. All the old gunk is going to go, and this is not a walk in the park. Definitely not going to be a walk in the park. I don't want to scare anyone. This is not scary. None of this is scary, right? But it's just not going to be a walk in the park. And I think the 12th house Pluto transit is probably one of the most difficult ones. But because it's a different realm. It's not on Earth. It's just, you know, we're dealing with something else. Something is not physical. I mean, it might be physical if it is an illness. We're dealing with an illness, but we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with what is behind it. And that's where you have to go. And that will bring up all kinds of stuff. We might deal with all kinds of stuff. Relationships play a role here. Your parents show up. Everything will show up at some point in some shape or form. So this is going to be a deep, deep, deep journey. And I also think that the 12th house Pluto transit is one of the most rewarding ones. I mean, again, it's not easy and not an easy one. I mean, everyone that just went through it with Capricorn there will tell you that. There might be a lot of, I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to make this dark and heavy, or too dark and too heavy. I already made it dark and heavy. But, you know, we might have to say goodbye to certain things in our lives. But again, this is all for us to grow and evolve. And this 12th house transit will also teach you that all of it, all the things that happen, the good, the bad, the ugly, is something that you came here to experience. Your soul came here to experience this. Your spirit came here to experience this. And I think in the next 20 years, you will actually understand that at some point. You know, maybe not right away. You might not also, you know, when things happen, you might not think, oh, my soul just wanted to experience this. But it will sink in. This is one of these, I mean, this is quite an honor, I would say, to get to experience a Pluto 12th house transit. You came here to do the deeper work. And that makes me very emotional right now. So if you have any questions about this transit in particular meaning your sign, feel free to ask in the comment section below. If you want a personal reading, you know what to do. Click on the link in the description box, and anything else, I'm here for you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.